whenever you're talking about life,
Well,
you can never be prepared for life. And
right,
so,
right.
yeah, we are actually going to talk about some of what we had planned, and we kind of wanted to piggyback off of what we talked about last week when we were talking about. We had kind of touched on it a little bit. Time got away from us, but we were talking about living abroad, and we kind of alluded to how with the climate and what's going on in the world, how more people are talking about living abroad
Right.
now more than ever. And I'm one of those. They call them expats.
Ex-
Uh-huh. I guess it's like pack your bags, your exes of the U.S. I don't know. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay.
You're excommunicado from the U.S. or wherever you're from. So, if God bless to say the same, I will be that at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, and I'm super excited about it to be taking that next step in life. But as with everything that I do, I pray about everything that I do, and if God doesn't see it the same way I see it, if He tells me that Tim, or your future is in Arizona, or your future is somewhere else, I'm going to go where God leads me. I made enough decisions on my own without consulting Him in the past, and it has never worked out. So my decisions moving forward, regardless of what my heart says, if God doesn't say so, then Tim is going to be steadfast.
Right.
But we are talking about living abroad. Floyd, have you ever thought about living outside of the U.S.?
I have actually. I recently, well, not recently, about couple years ago, I wanted to take that, because for me, it's like living abroad. For me, was more of a new, not new, but in life. Wanting to do something different. Living in this place.
We're calling it this place.
Well,
we're so disgusted with the U.S. We're calling it this place.
It's like, what is it doing for me? What is it like? It's not really making anything different. There's nothing different, So going somewhere else, it's not running away or anything. It's just more so of starting a new chapter in life,
I think as you get older and as you have lived life, and that's not necessarily saying that, talking about from a material standpoint of view, is just really having lived life, going through the ups and downs, the crevices, the highs, the lows of what life can bring. When you have done that, and then you're still that person that wants more out of life, and we're not necessarily talking about just a change of scenery or that you're limited. It's like when I think it's more so with people when they travel a lot, and I travel a lot. I've traveled all over the world, and so for me, knowing what's out there and knowing what I have available to me here doesn't change my situation. Like, I can move to another state, same situation. I think it's not same situation, same mindset. Mindset of the U.S. I don't like what it's founded on. I don't like what it's about. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't even like the direction that our Black community is going. Like, it's going a complete opposite direction that our forefathers and the the people that came before us that paved the way for us to have the things that we have now and the things that we enjoy now,
Right.
we're really doing them a disservice because
Right.
we're not upholding those traditional values and the things that they push for. We're so comfortable just being here. And it drives me crazy because even at 55, I'm super ambitious. And now to meet people that have that are ambitious like that, like it's rare. And I don't understand how people wouldn't necessarily want more out of life, but I do understand why. Is because we live in a social media driven corporation to where it's all about obtaining things, material possessions. And we think that the more of those things that we obtain, that we get, that means that we're moving forward in life. And it's really not, because you can have all the money in the world, still have the same mindset, and you are literally a slave to your own mindset. And that's what I want to break. I want to break those chains of mental slavery, because we will look at somebody else that's not doing better than us, and that will be the gauge on how we think we're doing in life. And that's not a true gauge. It's not a gauge at all.
You know what trips me out is that we're us that live here in the U.S. How we talk about going,
That's right. So
how we're going to another country or another place, right? And then you have those people living in those countries wanting to come to the U.S.
yeah,
That cracks me up, because it's like, just for example, I talked to a young lady a couple of days ago. She just flew in, and I asked her. I said, "What made you come to the U.S.?" She was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to come to the U.S."
that's the key.
And because she was saying that her friends, that's from the place that she's from, they came from there and moved to the U.S. Well, they moved to Arizona, and so now she's here visiting for a whole month and everything, so that she can get accustomed to the whole U.S. life.
It ain't hard. It ain't hard to
know?
get accustomed to how we move.
But when I asked her, I said, "So what country are you from?"
What did she say?
Thailand.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, you are from Thailand."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, the thing, what you have to understand is that it is so expensive for people in other countries to come to the U.S. They have to jump through a ton of hoops to do it. When it comes to documentation, we're making it even harder for them to come here. It's really the unknowing. Like, everybody's excited to go to a place that you have never been until you get there and you really find out how it is. I can go to anywhere in the U.S. and go there to visit and love it.
Right.
Visiting and living there is two completely different things. Because typically, when you go visit somewhere, you're only visiting like the touristy places, the cool places, the places that wherever you're visiting, they purposely make that look better than the rest of the city,
right,
because they know that's where the tourists going to go. But for me, when I went to Thailand, I made sure that I went to the outskirts and different areas that aren't living, high means. Yeah, because I wanted that experience, because I didn't want the view from a tourist. I wanted the view, because my desires to live there. I wanted the view from what it's like to be a native, a resident. And so she can come out here for a month and she will probably enjoy herself, because everything is going to be new. But when you got to start doing paperwork, when you start thinking about leasing a home and getting a vehicle and doing all of those things that really make you a part of that culture or that environment, you kind of start seeing that, okay, this ain't really what it's cracked up to be. But what I did when I was in Thailand is, like, I literally dove into what it takes to become a resident. How can I move around? Am I free to move around like I want to, go into other places? the one other thing that was attractive about it is a lot of the places that I've been is only like 3 or 4 hours away from Thailand. Whereas it took me 10, 12, hours to get there. And then the price was super expensive going from here when it's dirt cheap. Yeah. Flying from Thailand to Dubai is probably like flying from here to what? Northern California.
Yeah.
It's about 4 hours. It's about 4 hours. So just really to be able to have that availability to move around like that. And I love being cultured. I've loved learning other cultures. We're so pigeonholed in learning this Western culture to where they figured it out. Like they've fed us and drug us with history and different things that is not true. And we lived on that. We taught our kids this stuff, and at an older age, we're finding out that it's not what our history is not what they told us it was. And I don't know. It's just, I think that I have the same mindset that a lot of people have when they talk about, moving to another country. Like, I'm super excited about it. Like, I look at it like this, like when I think about the things that I've done, I've been in some of the most prestigious rooms with some of the most high profile people. I've truly been blessed. Like, and it doesn't equate to the money in my bank. It doesn't equate to the car that I drive. But I've really been blessed to be able to do things that people with money can't do. And so I'm not moved by that stuff. The curiosity is not there for me anymore. What it is for me is being able to show my kids and my grandkids that there's other things in life as far as like traveling and learning other cultures. Because we've been told about other people's cultures. We didn't see it for ourselves. We've been told. And from a negative perspective, because the U.S. always wants us and everybody in the world to view them as this ultimate, this is where everybody in the world wants to be. They want to be on our level. When you visit those places, they actually have it way better than we have it. And we're not the superpower that a lot of U.S. citizens that don't travel, we're not that superpower anymore. And you could tell by just with the BRICS and what happened with those 6 countries that decided to break away from us, that, they figured it out. We don't need you. We've got all the natural resources. We have our own economy. We don't need you. You need us more than we need you. And we're starting to feel the pinch. We're starting to feel the pinch from that. And it's going to get worse. When this current president was in office, he broke away from NATO. Like, to not have allies, like, it just, like, I just don't understand it. Like, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but politicians are crooked, period. But there's levels. Like, we have people that we know that are crooked. They will do something crooked in a heartbeat. But when you elect someone that has a record, a proven record, not just allegations, a proven record, 34 felonies. And here it is, we know people in our own family that have felonies and that can't get a job, can't get a place to stay.
Exactly.
And I've talked to my people in Ireland. I've talked to people in London and Paris and Dubai and Thailand. We think that shit is cute. Like we're cheering that on. And when I talk to them, we are the laughing stock. Like they're telling me, Tim, we how could y'all do that?
Right. I mean, you see, you're talking to a point that it goes back to how is it racial?
It's got to be. There's no. You cannot give me an explanation. Anybody that voted for him cannot give me an explanation of why you voted for him. Because the lame reasons that a lot of people give, oh, the economy was good when he was in office and this and that. No, he was not. Like, go back to Econ 101. Go back to learning what politics is. Like, we learned this in 101.
Exactly. When you
the president does not control the economy, it's supply and demand.
When you have a high schooler schooling people of what the president and the vice president's job is and stuff, then you understand that when the president prior, if the economy is bad, then the president that comes in has to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so, but when the president prior is the economy is good, then the president that comes in has to celebrate that and move it forward.
It takes 4 years for anything big to be enacted by the president. So typically in your first 4 years, of term, what you're doing is you're either reaping the benefits of the prior president or you're having to deal with the BS that they did prior to you.
Right.
So when it kills me when I hear people talk about what he did when he was in office, that wasn't him.
He didn't do nothing.
Everything that we benefited from was from Obama.
Right. Exactly.
When he was in office. Mm-hmm. And we won't see the residual effects of what he's doing now until the next president-elect. And believe me, we are going to suffer when we have the next president in, because that's when Trump's policies and procedures really get enacted in the next 4 years.
But see, the next person who comes in is going to have to deal with that. And so the people are going to be like, oh, they're not doing a good job. Oh, look at the economy. Oh, it's bad. Oh, what's happening?
And you know what? I don't give people of this country enough credit. I sit there and say, well, they need to learn what they know. They understand how politics work, but they say that because it masks what the real issue for them was. The real issue for them was that it was beginning to get too black, and they were losing footing. They felt like, because with us over the last 10 years, us learning more and more about our history, from everything from who invented what. Like we've been taught that the Wright brothers were the people that invented flight, and they're not. It was two black guys that flew the first plane and created the first plane before any of them. But they rewrote our history. That's the reason why Trump wants to take black history and talking about slavery, is because they fear like the more educated we are our history, the more empowered we are. But the sad truth is, as being a black man, I am really embarrassed that we don't understand and we refuse to understand the power and authority that we really have, and to use it to benefit us. We would rather join the bandwagon, let them destroy us from the inside out, and keep it moving. They're getting to the point to where they're like, hey, y'all, we don't really have to do nothing, because they're never gonna pull together. Mm-hmm. They're never going to band together and use the power and authority that they really have.
You know what got me was when, I ain't going to tell you that, but I'm at a place and I'm talking to my cousin and stuff like that. Now, a police officer, a white police officer, comes over, knows my cousin. They always batter and talk about each other and all that stuff, but they're cool with each other.
Uh-huh.
But then he says a comment. The white police officer says a comment and says it to me. He tells my cousin, I'm gonna have him, me. He said, I'm gonna have him go ahead and shoot you. If you don't stop. you know, and everything. Told my cousin that, and then he walks away, right? And so I looked at my cousin. I was like, you see, that's how it always been.
Yeah, the
So
little sly remarks and all of this, thinking it's a joke.
And I was like, look, that's how it is because look, they always want us as black folks to take each other out,
Yeah.
so they don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's they figured it out long ago, and we make it so easy for them to pit us against each other. And it's sad because when I talk to some of the blacks that voted for Trump, and the reasoning behind, well, Camilla won. At one point, she was talking, she was Indian, that she wasn't black. And then all of a sudden, when she ran for president, she decided she wanted to be black. She never talked about the school she went to. But then all of a sudden, we started hearing about what does that matter?
Okay.
What does that matter? Like, what does that matter? If your gripe is she markets herself according to what she's doing in life. Like, that would be like me going for a job as a principal of a school. Do I need to talk about what I did as a police officer or what I did in life that has nothing to do with the job that I'm applying for?
No.
Or anything that would benefit me or help me get the job? We act like it's different for somebody to kind of like highlight the things that for that particular thing that, okay, I need them to know this because this will help me get the job. To me, that's smart.
But see, I don't see Trump doing that. I don't see them getting.
But the thing about he's not smart enough to do it. So that's the one thing that and I think that was the other thing that made him attractive to black and brown people is that, oh, he's real. Like he's real. Like we want to be relatable to somebody that is not positive. Like, and that's why I say it's so easy to pit us against each other because we don't want more for ourselves. We're okay with being okay. If we have a white guy over here that is prim, proper, dressed to the nine, is politically correct,
okay,
and does everything the right way, black people can't relate to him for some reason. But if we have the white thug over here that speaks like how we talk, ghetto, and that has a record and does everything the wrong way, he's relatable to us. Like, we relate to him. I like him.
Wow.
I like him. He's cool. At what point do you want better for yourself? Like, this kills me about us. Like, stop hanging out at places that don't grow you. Start hanging out in places where when you go in, you can feel a sense of like, okay, this is where I need to be to get to where I need to be in life.
Right. Okay.
And it ain't hanging out with even if you grew up that way, even if you know it, at some point you have to grow up mentally, grow up spiritually. It just can go on for days.
And that's one thing about. I mean, I don't know how it is when it comes to different countries on how they, how their head or their prime ministers, how their kings, how their queens, how they react to their people. I don't know how they do, only what the news reports and stuff. But the ones like in here in the U.S., it's like the people only chooses the ones who are, like you said, just like them. Okay, why would a felony abuser get elected? Because he's just like him.
My be around people that compliment you, not complicate you. And that's in essence what I was saying. And then my girl Evelyn says, stats and statistics, those are more power than just talk. But playing devil's advocate on her talking about stats and statistics, stats and statistics can be tampered with. Like, really and truly, are you getting, if you're not the person that's there taking the stats, if you are the person that's keeping the statistics, do you know how easy it is to tamper with stats and statistics? It's so, even when you look at sports, how they kept stats and statistics in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s is completely different than how they keep stats now.
Right.
They take more stuff into consideration. Sports is stat driven, and they know that about us. That's why they can flash the nice stats, because we think the stats tell the story, and the stats don't tell the story. Stats are just a glimpse of what it really is. I used this comparison the other day as like Russell Westbrook, knowing, loving, cool as heck, one of the best players to ever play the game. But when you really break down Russell Westbrook, and he's the all-time leader in triple doubles, and people will think that that's what makes him one of the best players ever, statistically, because he's averaged a triple double.
Okay.
But when you really watch Russell Westbrook play, which I am actually a student of basketball. I play the game at every level. Russell Westbrook will have a triple double by halftime. And then the middle of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, he's nowhere to be found. So really and truly, are those effective stats, or are they just stats? They don't really tell the story. For me, I would rather you score 5 points a quarter in the first, second, third, and fourth quarter, have spread that out over a whole game, because that's what really helps your team, not just the first 2 quarters. The greats, when it comes down to the end of the game, those are the ones that you go. Those are the closers. What do you do the last 5 minutes of the game? What the fourth quarter? How are you in the fourth quarter? Because that is a telltale sign about who a person is when the chips are on the line and it's down to crunch time. Who are you in those moments? Because a lot of people will shy away from those moments. So statistics and stats don't really tell the true story of who they are. It's how they are in crunch time is what really matters. And stats won't tell you that.
But I would be more of with Westbrook. I would be on that more of a level if he was to, like you said, he would get his triple doubles before the half. Okay, but then you don't see him at the second half. But the thing is, if he got his triple doubles at the first half, wouldn't it be more impressive if he got just added more to that second half?
Well, so what they have now is an overall effective rating, in actually in sports in general. So the effective rating basically goes from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. How impactful are you on the game as a whole? What's your effective rating? Your impact on the game, not your impact per quarter. The impact on the game. What is your overall impact on the game? That's your effective rating. If your impact on the game doesn't result in wins or determining a positive outcome, like even if you're a subpar team, but you take one of the best teams down to the wire, you could have a really high overall effective rating, because how effective you were during the game, regardless of what the outcome is, that'll let you know who you are, is your effective rate. They also call it plus minus.
Yeah.
So those are things. And with the world that we live in, because so many outlets, so many corporations control the media and things that we have access to, stats and statistics is hard to really judge by because there's so many things that have their hands in it. I'm of the adage to where I'm listening to the old heads,
right?
Because the old heads they've foreseen what we're going through now, because they was having these conversations with us back in the day and we ignored them.
Right.
They told us what was coming and we ignored it. Oh, they don't know. They stuck in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s and this and that and this and that. And which those are the ones you need to be having the conversations with. Don't Google nothing unless you have access to the dark web, which that's where all the truths are, because that can't be tampered with.
Right.
Google and all of this stuff, they're spoon feeding you what they want you to find. You could tell by even with your phone. Even with your phone, like we know we could talk about something right now, and then it'll come across our timeline.
Right.
Advertising for it.
Ain't that something?
Yeah. So when we're sitting here talking about stats and statistics, and regardless of what the stats and statistics were for, we're gonna now get that on our phone. They're gonna spoon feed us stats and statistics of whatever it was that we're talking about. So that's why that doesn't make it a reliable source. And then for the old folks back in the day, they didn't know nothing about no stats and statistics.
They just know about life, how life was going.
And they paid attention to the progression of life and what has been going on, what has been the trend.
Nothing new under the sun.
Those are the ones that are sitting on the porch just doing this. Hi, Nana. And you wonder why every day they're out on the porch.
Yeah.
For years and years. You can find them in the same spot. You know why? It's because they're watching what's going on. They're paying attention what's going on. They're not getting caught up in social media. They're not getting caught up in the little nuances of life, which we think that we're living the best life.
Right.
They paid attention. They paid attention from when they were kids to middle of life to the end of life. And it's been that same natural progression from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, going into the 2000s.
Right.
Are they tech savvy? No, they're not tech savvy. It's people that were born in the 2000s that aren't tech savvy. So that's not saying nothing. But we can't rely so much on Google. We can't rely on social media. We can't rely on statistics. I've never been a fan of statistics. Like, the only time I was ever a fan of statistics was when I was in high school and college, and I would see how many points I'm averaging and you know, but that was the youngness about me. But now statistics don't move me because I know they can be tampered with. Like, I'm not a stats guy.
And the thing is that when it comes to sports and the statistics and all that, I mean, I'm not a statistics person, especially when it comes to teams. When it comes to like if you have a team that's their offense. They take football. Their offense, their defense is solid. Okay, but then and they're playing really well. Okay, but they lose a game.
Yeah, a team that's solid on defense that don't really give up touchdowns in the red zone, they lose the game, and the team that they lost to have 5 touchdowns in the red zone.
Right.
Like, you can look at stats, but you also that other team and say, okay, because sometimes it's your number. Like I don't care how good you are. There's teams, there's players, there's individuals that have your number. They've either studied your little nuances and the things that you do, and they made it. And that's what made Kobe and Mike so great, is those guys studied your deficiencies, and they killed you. They killed you with your own deficiencies. They killed you with your own deficiencies. If you had no lateral movement, they killed you. If you weren't a lockdown defender, or they just figured it out. It wasn't stats. It was studying the individual. Because individuals will tell you who they are without telling you who they are through their actions. Now I can look at your stats, and your stats may say one thing, but if I meet you and have a conversation with you,
Right.
I know something different about you than what the stats show. Statistically, Kamala Harris was supposed to win the election. Statistically,
Yeah.
something happened. Something happened.
That blackness happened.
Well, it'll all come out, but something happened, and stats no longer were reliable. And they know how to get us with stats. They know, okay, let me show them this, and if I show them that this pill has an effective 95% success rate, then they're going to go out and get this because nobody has the 95% success rate. Right. How do you know that it was successful? Because they told you it had a 95% success rate? Or have you used it and 95% of the time it worked for you? No, so that's why I say you can't go by statistics because they understand. Like even with gambling, I don't gamble at all. And you can go by statistics and say, hey, this team statistically is supposed to win. But the way sports and gambling is now, so many people are involved with it on a high level to where statistics will actually cause you to lose everything you got.
I mean, just like when I would go back to the whole team thing, it's like statistics. Yeah, it'll say, okay, the Suns is favored to win, and then they play the Thunders, right? But then the thing is that, okay, statistically, the Suns is favored to win, but in reality, the Thunders win.
Uh-huh. And it's just like when we talk about the Black community, it's easy for someone to Google how well the Black community is doing in a city, and it'll show you, the poverty rate, the unemployment rate, and this and that. But if you really want to know what's going on in your Black community, go to your Black community and find out.
And you know what? And the thing about it is that we're not on that level. A lot of us people, that's into all that, we get it. But the ones that's not, it's like they don't really care about all that.
Yeah. And, the problem is, and something very important, we need to help us. We need to stop depending on people that don't look like us to give us the hand up to help us. We need to empower ourselves in our own communities. And I see it all the time, and it sickens me, man, is we have people that we know within the Black community that struggle, that need help. And the people that we have, because it is us. It is people who put people in positions to be successful. Without us and our support, whether it's going to buy your jersey, whether it's going to a game, to buy tickets for you in particular games, whether it's jersey sales, the community is what puts you on that pedestal. And for you to get on that pedestal and forget about the community that helped put you there is a disgrace. But what's crazy is we as Black people, we will get on that pedestal and we will help every white person before we help even the Black people that you know. That's the part that disgusts me. Like, it's disgusting to me. And I'm not saying it's their job to take care of the Black community. When you personally know people that are struggling, good. You don't help them, but yet and still helping white people, showing up for this. And it's for us too that don't have the pedestal. If you able to have running water, a roof over your head, you have life, health, and strength, you have clothes on your back, you have a vehicle, you are blessed, and you need to be helping somebody that don't have that. It's not just the high profile people. We need to be doing better, and that's what Evelyn was talking about. Is like we have to be more proactive than we are reactive because they figured out how to push our buttons.
And that's the thing is that we talk about that. We've talked about it before about helping one another and coming together and trying to do this thing so that we can lift each other up. But the thing is that how hard it is for that to even happen. Because it's like it seems like you have a group of people, a dozen people who wants to see it happen, a buzz, and you have millions of people who ain't even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
that's where it starts, though. It starts in your own little community. We want to elect the president that's going to give us everything we want, and no president is going to do that. But where it really starts is in your own community. Start not electing these officials that are in your community that's going to that level. That level is where you're going to see it the most, is the community level, the local level, then the state level. Those are the people that you really need to focus on because the president really doesn't govern the states like that. They are the ones that determine what really goes on within the state. When you talk about governor, mayor, city officials, and that's what really affects us. Those are the changes that we see, like that really affect us.
Even with that can be a headache because you do have people who running for office, local office, and everything that's going to
Mm-hmm.
actually help, and everything. Then they don't get picked because it's something. It's like either they're low on the pedestal or I don't know. It's like okay, you say you won't change,
Yep.
you won't help, you want these things done, but then when you actually have somebody in that level to get the things done, you don't vote for them.
Yeah. And we also have to be better at, we talk about change, but at what point do we become the change that we want to see? Like we can elect, and just like my girl Nay said, a lot of us have been in the same situation regardless of who the president was in office. And it's because at the local level, we haven't put people in places that will put us in these positions to where we can start seeing effective change in our life. And the problem is that we want to sit back and complain about something, but we won't step to the forefront and be that. Like, I really want to get, I'm really driven before I get out of here is to really get in the community and start creating organizations that really have ties, with the local officials and start creating that voice that we need coming from the community. Is we can sit back and say, oh, I don't like him, or he should run, or she should run. What have you done personally to be that change that you want to see in your community? And I've always been in the community. I've always, not as much recently as I have in the past, and it, believe me, it conflicts me that I haven't, because there's so many things that I want to do in the community, and I'm doing things like creating places that my age group can go and have a nice time without it being a bar, without it a club, and even just doing that, I can't get people to come out to support. Like, we complain that there's no place for us to go. We complain that we used to have places that kind of cater to our age group and the demographics and stuff that we like to do, getting dressed every now and then, going to hear some old school R&B and hip hop, and not having it be, the stuff that these kids are listening to nowadays. You create that environment and we still won't come. And so that kind of tells you how our community is like, they're asking for stuff that they really aren't ready or willing to receive. Like, do you want to just sit back and just complain about everything? Is it easier for you to just complain about everything than to really get out and to support and to bring about effective change? And then when we get people in positions to where they can give us those things, they have a tendency to forget about who they are and where they came from and who they're doing this for. They want to get everybody in the door that don't look like us. and it just I I want everything that I do to be effective for my community. Understand that I'm not saying that I want to do stuff that's just for my community. That's not the goal. That's not the goal to do stuff that's just for my, because when you start doing stuff that's just for your community, you're not allowing those people that don't look like you to come in to tell you how they got to where they are.
That can actually help.
And that can actually help you get to where you're at. We got to stop closing ourselves off to the possibilities of learning from people that don't look like us. And so that's, we may have digressed a little bit on the show. This kind of ties into the reason why a lot of people are moving abroad, is that they're tired of just banging their head against a brick wall, and like Nay said, people's situation. And so how long do you continue to run yourself against that brick wall before you figure out it hurts?
Well, I mean, it's not changing because we as people are not changing it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not up to a government or a president to change your situation. It's like, in order for it to change, you have to change it. Like, they don't know you. They don't know your name. They don't know nothing about you. So they ain't trying to help you. So,
and they really don't. I feel like the community really don't understand the saying when it says, "Be the change that you wish to see." I don't really. That is so powerful, but I really don't feel like that we get it. And so that's why I made the statement the other day where I feel like we need Trump in office. We need him to be in office, because that is really and truly, when you look at our history, until we're faced with adversity, that's the only time we come together. We come together on heels, and it sucks. It sucks. But sometimes you got to go through it to get to it. And so we need him in office right now, because we talk about the country as divided. We in the Black community is so divided.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Evelyn, I will be getting with you and discussing some of these ideas you have. I've been actually approached quite a bit from people from different walks about really getting in the community, doing some stuff. And my prayer, I pray to God, bless me to where I can be a blessing to someone else.
Right.
If God allowed me to hit the lottery, bro, you know what I would do in our community? Like, I'm not thinking about nothing else. Like, this life we live, man, is about leaving a legacy. Legacies are what last. Legacies are what people talk about long after you're gone. I don't need my name on a building. I don't need a street after me. I need kids that look like me to see what's possible. That's not necessarily saying when you make it all, you got to come back to the hood. No, that's you got to be smart about it. But instead of giving somebody $50,000, invest $50,000 in the community. I just think we just need to be smarter about what we do in our community as well. But yeah,
man,
it is more than a notion to move out of the country. If you're not somebody that travels regularly, it could be a little frightening, because
frightening and challenging.
We've been taught, we've been told that there's no place like the U.S. The U.S. is the pinnacle of what every country, when it's the farthest thing from the truth. And the is what we have been taught in our Western education. It's fearful. Like we have this idea about other countries where they're in our homes telling us what we can do, what we can wear, um, telling us what we can do with our kids. But when you really think about, as I say that, it is the worst over here. With they're doing that to us here. They're just doing it subliminally through social media, different outlets, and we think we're free. That's the biggest fallacy, falsehood, is that we really think we are free here in the U.S. And I always say this: if I'm going to be controlled, I want to be controlled by somebody that's going to list out the things I can't do, to where I have reference material. Okay, I can't go there. All right, cool. That's on the list. I don't need gray areas. I don't need gray areas with what I can and can't do, especially in a place where I'm supposed to be free. And so that's why I really kind of push for kids. That is one of the things that I would do if I was ever to really become wealthy enough. So I would start getting kids in the hood abroad, like getting them to travel to see the world. Like that has been heavy on my heart, is getting people in our community that don't have access to travel. Is bro, if I could have my own airline, you know what I would do with that, bro? Like
no plane airline.
Bro, every month, I would be taking groups to countries, giving them that experience. Bro, it's so much that we can do to enlighten our people on what the possibilities are outside of this corporation. And that's the reason why this corporation runs like it is because it's not a country. It's a corporation. So with the corporation, you've got the employees, you've got the board, you've got the decision makers that make all the decisions. So like you can't go on your job telling them what you want to change at your job as an employee. Once you become a supervisor, you have some say so, but you can't tell them what to do. You can give your input and make suggestions. And that's the way this is. That's the way we live. We are employees. The board, which are these corporations, they control the owner. No matter what you do or what you say, the board controls the owners, and the owners are the president. So yeah, man. I advise everybody to keep your eyes peeled. Like I said, this next 4 years is going to be a trying 4 years. Me wanting to move out of country isn't running from anything. I've fought battles. I have scars from battles that I've fought. So I don't run from fights. But at some point, you got to want more for yourself, and that's where I'm at in my life. I want more for myself than what this corporation can give me. And it's something as simple as a good quality of life. I don't know how much time God has for me left. I'm 55, and I really think this next 55 is going to be spent doing what I love and having a good quality of life. And I don't see myself getting that here, simply just because of the mentality. But yeah. So those of you that are thinking about moving abroad, I don't know everything, but I know a little bit. So if you have questions about even just visiting abroad and travel, if I don't have the answers, I could definitely point you to in the direction of people that do have the answers. And it's not as expensive as people think it is. Like, I said this jokingly, if you don't buy a couple pair of shoes or go to a bar or a restaurant, for a couple months, that's enough to get a plane ticket to almost anywhere in the world. Now, you may not be able to fly first class, but you can get a plane ticket to anywhere in the world if if you cut back on your expenditures and at least get out of the country. Dominican is a easy trip. Different places like that those are inexpensive trips and give you an opportunity to see what it's really like outside of this corporation. And I'm telling you, man, it is the best thing that I've done, is to get out and see the world. Oh, Santorini is definitely on the list. Not to mention the quality of life is better and it's cheaper to live out of this country, this corporation. But yeah, man, if you guys are thinking about moving out, hit me up, man. I like to talk about it and bounce some things and get some ideas of where you're going. If I've been there, I can definitely tell you. If you've been to some of the places that I've love to talk to you about it. Because like I said, I'm not making any decisions about my life without consulting God. If God don't say at the end of 2025 that, okay, Tim, I'm co-signing on you moving to Thailand, Tim is going where God wants him to go. Right. And if God doesn't see that in the cards for me, then Tim could be in Arizona for the rest of his life. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But my heart is out of here.
Right.
My heart is out of here. I'm not trying to create nothing here. I want this transition. If there is a transition, I want it to be seamless and as simple as possible. Material stuff, I can care less about it. I enjoy it, but I can care less about it. I've been to places where a large group of people have done so much with so little. And so that solidifies it for me that this stuff doesn't mean anything to me. And so never have placed the value on it. So if you're placing the value on material things, you're really not living life. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate the back and forth dialogue.
Yes,
Evelyn,
yes, keep them coming.
We appreciate the conversations. Africa is definitely on the list. God knows my heart, and I'm saying Thailand, but there's a couple places on the list, and yeah, Africa is one of those places. So if it ain't Thailand and God sees me somewhere else in another foreign country, then let's go. Let's go. Let go.
Hello.
But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Then take your hat off, Mr. Material Sir. Now, Evelyn, we'll have a conversation offline. Love you. But we appreciate everybody tuning in, man. We need everybody to go to YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel.
Yes.
Even when I leave, even if God says that it's okay for me to leave, we're going to leave Shoes Off Talk here and open a satellite office wherever I go. So we will still be having these conversations. So don't think it's going to stop. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And how we end all shows: love, peace, and soul.